Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Welcome back, everybody, to the Near Memo with David, Mike, and Greg. And this is episode 144. Today we'll be talking about the history of the SERP and click-through rates. We'll be talking about Google's social strategy in the SERP and the sort of a rise of forms and local search results. And then Mike is going to be talking about the new EU local SERP that is responding to the DMA, the Digital Markets Act. So David, why don't you tell us about CTR and the history of the SERP?
Yeah, so Andy Crestodina, Orbit Media, longtime content marketing guru in the truest sense of the word. I mean that as a compliment, not as an insult. Andy wrote he's been in this space longer than we have, at least longer than I have. I shouldn't speak for you and Mike, but he wrote a sort of very interesting longitudinal view of how the Google SERP has changed. Mike has been tracking this on his own blog for years as well, but this was sort of a more horizontal view of how the SERP has changed. He used a couple of examples, a shopping SERP from, I think it was 2012, where it was basically all text ads at the top and then blue links, and then a couple of product ads sort of in the right-hand rail, and just how different that shopping SERP looks today with the PLAs, the images now in organic results. It's just a much more visual SERP. The position of the number one organic result, used to be 250 pixels from the top. Now it's below the fold, basically. And he had a couple more examples of how things have changed for different categories. So movies was another one where it was like, movies near me or something like that. A couple of years ago, that was a pack result of movie theaters, and now it's a carousel of individual movie sort of billboards, whatever you call those, posters. Where you click in and choose the movie first and then find where it's showing. So just the whole sort of arc is just how dramatically the SERP has changed in the last 10 years, and which I think actually dovetails a lot with what we've been talking about in this podcast for the last couple of years in particular. More images, more sort of interesting, rich results getting fed in. Greg, you're going to talk about forums in the next segment on today's podcast. And his point is really that his big takeaway is basically, rankings are durable over time. If you continue to invest in SEO, you'll probably continue to move up the rankings, but position in the SERP is not because of all of the changes that Google has made. And so he's advocating a couple of things. First of all, don't put all of your eggs in the SEO basket, which is something we've long said, and don't put all of your eggs in the Google basket, even inside of that bucket. But the other thing I thought was a really interesting takeaway was how much more important it is now to engage potential visitors to your site with really compelling results and understanding where users are clicking in order to understand where you should be investing your resources, which is something that we've been trying to attack in Near Media for local businesses for the last year plus, in terms of identifying, where do users click? Do they click more on LSAs in a certain category, or more on pack results in a certain category, or on organic results? And in particular, what are the attributes of the listings that they're clicking on? Is it reviews? Is it number of years in business? Is it proximity? What are the sort of messaging themes that resonate most with customers? And so I personally think this was a great validation of kind of our market position for Near Media, in terms of trying to help companies identify where they should be making investments in search results generally, whether that's paid, local, organic, and then also identifying sort of what themes they should be promoting in their content with their content. One final takeaway that I think was really interesting is he showed just the dramatic decline in click-through rates and sort of general traffic sent by Google for informational queries over time. And he expects that, as do many, to accelerate with the advent of AI results. And so it also speaks to another theme of our sort of, our product offering at Near Media, which is helping you identify what keywords you should actually be targeting, what keywords you actually have a chance to rank for. And so basically the takeaway here is informational queries are going to be going away if a local business ever could compete for an informational query in the first place. And so focus on the keywords that are likely to lead to transactions for you, And within that keyword set, focus on the results and use the messages that are going to lead to actual visitors and potentially customers for your business.
Yeah, we saw that we've seen in a couple of interesting examples. One was in the lawyer space where if LSAs weren't present, people were clicking very aggressively on the organic results. And there, when somebody cheated on review schema in the organic results, that gave them an edge. It was just a very good example of what you're talking about in the extreme, where somebody's cheating to get that little extra click through. Sorry, Greg, go ahead.
Well, and one of the other points is that we've seen pretty significant behavioral differences in different verticals, healthcare, legal, and storage, and people looking for different types of information, using different decision criteria, which is kind of a surprise, or was a surprise to me, because when people think about search behavior, they think about sort of uniformity, but it varies from vertical to vertical. People were very interested in images in healthcare, and they were more interested in price and offers, as well as proximity with self-storage, and we saw, as Mike was just saying, we saw different behaviors in legal depending on the presence or absence of LSA. So there's a lot of nuance. It's pretty interesting, and so I haven't read the article yet, but I will definitely check it out. Maybe I'll write that up for today's newsletter. We'll see.
Yeah, essentially, like as the SERP becomes more and more complex, and the two follow-on themes in today's podcast are both increasing complexity of the SERP. I think you really need to understand as a business where you should be placing your SEO bets and potentially even your paid search bets, because that increased complexity really can dramatically shift user behavior based on what elements are present.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.